And speaking of getting a career under one's belt, fuck it, we're getting straight into it this week.
Okay.
Because there's a story that has made my blood boil. And Lucas, thank you so much for bringing it to my attention. And you probably know exactly what it is I'm talking about, so would you like to introduce the story?
Yeah.
The folks at home.
So this is like the second coming of one Philip Mewson.
Yeah. AKA Dickhead.
AKA mass plagiarizer and just huge tool.
Yes, and the backstory to this particular tale of the interwebs is the Mr. Philip Mewson. Is that how you pronounce his name? I don't care, he's a dickhead.
Yeah, fuck him.
But he was accused 1 or 2 years ago of plagiarising a review of the video game Dead Cells, a great video game. I recommend people go play it.
Totally.
To which his response was, I don't plagiarise reviews. I've never plagiarised anything in my life. I invite anybody out there to find anything I've plagiarised. Which people took as a challenge and found out not only did he plagiarise this review, he plagiarised dozens of reviews he'd written, and even plagiarised his own fucking LinkedIn page.
Which is amazing when I found that out.
From a website called How to Write a LinkedIn Page or some stupid shit like that. So, massive, unapologetic, because that's the thing, he never actually apologised for being a plagiarist. A massive, unapologetic thief.
So when people, you know, there are some sects of the internet that I've seen defending him, saying he has apologised. He made a quote-unquote apology video, but never really actually fucking apologised.
And never admitted to fault. And I think that's a lot to do with the word plagiarism, which is a very specific thing. It's like, you know, we're stealing the work of others.
Yeah.
But I think theft, it has, like, harsher connotations. And that's what
It certainly does.
It is the intellectual equivalent of theft.
Yeah.
And the reason I get so worked up about it is I've been a writer for 10 years, and before that I was in university. Academic dishonesty is a thing that gets you thrown off of virtually any course if you've got a good university.
Yeah.
Academic dishonesty, like plagiarism, paying someone else to write your essays, generally just not doing the work yourself, will immediately have you disqualified from most university level courses. And for the most part, might even get you just completely barred from ever taking part in that course again.
Yeah, probably.
In the field of journalism, it can have you blackballed, rightfully so, from the entire industry, because the only real thing you have going for yourself as a journalist is your credibility, and plagiarism completely destroys that, and without credibility, you are basically worthless in that field.
Yeah, I've seen a few people say, oh, look, this is not a little thing. Like, when I went to journalism school, the first fucking lesson is do not plagiarise. Like, it's the cardinal sin of the profession.
It is. It's the worst thing you can do, because not only does it make yourself look bad, it makes the entire publication you work for look bad.
It does.
Because in the world of writing, there are things called editors, and mistakes fall on their head. And editors, the relationship they can have with a writer can vary. Some are very hands-off, some are very hands-on, but it's largely informed by the trust they have in their writers, or how much or little they give a shit. And so this guy, by plagiarising, not only ruined his own reputation, heavily damaged and tarnished the reputation. Was it IGN he wrote for at the time?
It was IGN, yeah.
Because he was so, what's the word now? Damn it. Oh, man. I wish there was someone else's words I could just copy to make my point. That'd be great. You know, if that was a thing.
If only that was the thing.
He was indignant about being accused of plagiarism, that IGN initially had his back.
Yeah, while they were trying to investigate what happened, they were like, oh, look, we have never had signs that he's plagiarised before. Let us look into it.
And he seems really upset by this, and we support him. If he says he hasn't plagiarised, we're inclined to believe him. Turns out that was all a huge lie. Massive, huge, big lies.
And as we've now seen on the internet from that point, turns out this guy is like a massive manipulator of people.
Yes, and that's the thing. It's like serial plagiarism. Because here's the thing: people don't plagiarise by accident. It's not a thing you do, but nobody accidentally copy pastes someone's work, puts it into Word, changes around a few of the words to make it just look different enough where you might get away with it, and it's going to pass through that stuff like Turnitin, and then submits it, puts the byline on it, and gets paid for it.
Yeah.
That's not something people do by accident. That is a concerted, effort to defraud and manipulate and just steal the work of somebody else.
And I know it doesn't really change the fact that like plagiarism is plagiarism at the end of the day, but I think to me, at very least, that one of the worst parts about it was that he specifically went after like small writers and YouTubers to plagiarize them, so it wouldn't be as noticeable.
And it doesn't set off as many red flags because, oh yeah, this has got 5,000 views. I'm writing for IGN. The crossover between these two audiences is going to be very small, so the odds of me getting found out are a lot smaller. And I draw a line. There's like plagiarism. It's theft, but there are like multiple levels to it. And the bottom level is just laziness, and that is literally just copy pasting from something else, like copying huge paragraphs from Wikipedia and putting it into an article or an essay or something like that. That's laziness, and I think that is more forgivable than what Philip Minuchin did, which we'll talk about in a moment, because lazy people are probably not going to succeed anyway.
Yeah, probably not.
It's an old Patrice O'Neill joke, rip in peace, a comedian who was asked about the subject of joke theft, which is like a huge issue with comedians because you can't copyright trademark jokes, so there is no legal recourse for a comedian if their jokes get stolen beyond public shaming. There are like several high-profile comedians who've gotten away with and made a career from stealing other people's jokes. And there was, I think, Robin Williams famously was known privately in the world of comedy as Robin.
Oh wow!
Because he would turn and it was known in the industry around when he performed that if you were on stage and you saw him in the audience, don't tell your best stuff.
Oh really?
Yeah. So he's one of those comedians, and then obviously he went on to do his own thing.
Yeah.
Even like the upper echelons of the comedy world were not known to do this, and he had this amazing breakdown of it, which I've like taken and incorporated into my own life in terms of creativity, which is, yeah, it's annoying when someone steals your jokes. It's frustrating to see someone else tell one of your jokes, but I can always write more jokes. They clearly can't.
Yeah.
And his point is that even if they steal your jokes, it's annoying, but I know in my head I can write more because it's my job. I'm a comedian. I know that my mind works in a way where I'll always be able to write new material.
Yeah.
They can't because they have to rely on stealing mine.
I guess that's a really good way to look at it.
And it's the same like if someone is just copy pasting huge chunks of stuff from Wikipedia, and because you'll probably see it with like stories that go around every now and again about people basically paying other people to do their degree for them.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I paid someone to write my essay, or I just copy pasted huge chunks of it, and they got away with it. I see that as being lesser than what this Philip guy did, because they get the end result, but because they're not actually learning any of the knowledge, and they're literally putting zero effort into doing it, the odds of them succeeding are massively diminished, because the moment they are asked to apply any of the knowledge they supposedly learned independently, they won't be able to, and they're going to crumble and fall.
Exactly, yeah.
There's a really great, if people want to watch a really great video of this, there's a comedian that I quite like, Lee Mack. Very good comedian, very talented one, probably one of the quickest wits in comedy today.
I think that's fair to say, yeah.
He's an amazing comedian, and there was a series of Australia's Got Talent, where a comedian went on stage and literally just told Lee Mack's jokes. Literally, you can find the videos comparing them. Like the guy, and like, this is the thing, Lee Mack is not a small comedian. He's a very, very famous, well-established comedian in Britain. And this guy went on stage on Australia's Got Talent and told his jokes.
Holy shit.
And the interviews with this guy are amazing because his justification for it is, I just thought that I was translating his jokes for a new audience because Lee Mack doesn't perform in Australia.
Oh God!
And the reason I'm bringing this up is because there is this this got found out when he was like set to go into when they start being live shows. He got through the preliminaries, and then when it aired on TV, they're Lee Mack jokes. He got found out, had this horrible train wreck interview where he tries to defend it. And then, for his next appearance on the show, wrote his own jokes, and they are fucking terrible.
I can imagine.
He crashed, and he burned, and it is glorious. And it's made all the better when you know. He's like, I'm going to write my own jokes for this set then and show that I can do it. It's like, that's what you should have been doing from the start.
It is, yeah.
But let's see how good your jokes are, and they are awful.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, you know what? Go ahead, prove yourself.
And then as well, the entire crowd's against him because this story broke and was massive news in Australia. And it's so fun to watch.
Oh, man.
And that's like a perfect encapsulation of this, of like, when they get found out, because they clearly don't have the talent to do this thing on their own, they're going to get found out, they're going to crash and burn, and they're going to fade into obscurity.
Of course, yeah.
But then you have people like Philip Mushin, who didn't copy-paste, he didn't just steal, he put effort into his stealing.
He did,
he covered his tracks. He didn't just go and copy-paste from someone else's review, he took their review and changed the words around a little bit. Which is an extra additional level of effort. That means he knew what he was doing was wrong and tried to hide that fact. Which I see as being worse, because it means that in his head he knows that what he's doing is wrong and he's literally trying to cover his tracks. It's like, I need to obfuscate the fact that I've stolen this stuff just enough where there's plausible deniability.
And I've also seen that, like, when his work has been published, he's had... I don't know whether this was, like, before or after he got found out, but he's had, like, a history of trying to get, like, the original videos that he stole from taken down.
For plagiarising him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
To try and cover his tracks even fucking further.
Oh, okay, and that's it's that extra level of being a dickness that I think makes his plagiarism is plagiarism, but like, what he did that little bit worse, because there was a knowingness to what he did. It wasn't done out of ignorance or laziness. It was
or naivety or anything. Yeah.
No, it's not an excuse, but it can diminish the responsibility I feel you should have to acknowledge. Like, being an idiot is not an excuse, but at the very least, people can stop being a fucking moron. People can learn to stop being stupid. Like, you can be taught. Like, but it's very difficult for me to like buy that somebody has stopped being a manipulative, weaselly arsehole.
Exactly, yeah.
And fuck this guy, because recently he came back. And Lucas, you made me so mad yesterday on stream. I got mad because it's like, this is my bread and butter. I've had people stealing from me for years.
Yep.
I've had jokes, I've had articles, I've had entire things I've written stolen. And the story I always tell is my most popular joke I've ever written. Not the best, but the most popular was...
The Roller Coaster Tycoon.
The Roller Coaster Tycoon joke, which people have probably seen in some form online, which is, when I played Roller Coaster Tycoon, what I would do, when I was given the mission to make a park that was better than my rivals, was to build a roller coaster that launched people directly into the air, into my opponent's park, where they would crash, where they would crash and die, lowering my opponent's park rating and sending people into my park onto my death coaster. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I shouldn't be given any modicum of power ever. And before anyone says, no, there are no missions in any Roller Coaster Tycoon game where you can see your rival's park. It's a joke.
It is.
The reason I post it online is I am aware of that fact, but I had wrote a bit about video games and thought, if it sounds like, in your head, it sounds like something you remember being able to do.
It sounds plausible enough.
It sounds plausible enough where you might be able to, like, that Mandela effect of, yeah, I remember that. Even though it's not quite true. And it's like, okay, and then I posted it on my Facebook page to see if that was the case, so I could tell it on stage. So the last thing I wanted is telling that joke on stage. And someone going, you can't see your rival's park in Roller Coaster Tycoon. That joke subsequently went viral. It was copy-pasted everywhere online with my face blurred. And
your name blacked out.
And my name blacked out. And the reason this is so uniquely frustrating is because I eventually did tell that joke on stage at a live comedy event, to which some guy loudly piped up, you stole that joke off Facebook.
And it's like, I stole it off my fucking Facebook.
To which I responded, no, I wrote that joke, funny story. Someone copy-pasted it from me and posted it online. No, you didn't. You stole it.
Oh, no.
And I cannot emphasize how uniquely frustrating that was. I was so mad. I am being told I've stolen my own jokes. Bear in mind, I was pissed off about this because I wasn't really that popular or known online at the time. Yeah. That was the first thing I ever had go viral, and it didn't have my face on it, and I was pissed off.
Well, it's not even that it didn't have your face and name on it. It's the fact that they blurred out your face and name, like, so that you wouldn't get credit.
And it was everywhere online for a while, and I never got any credit for it. And then to be on stage telling that joke and be accused of stealing it, and then have that guy heckle me and come up to me after the fact and go, well, you did steal that joke though, didn't you? I was like, I fucking didn't, I wrote it.
You know what, as well, like, I think I've mentioned this to you before. I had seen that joke online and thought it was funny while I was friends with you.
And didn't know I wrote it.
I didn't know you wrote it until like a year later you posted, oh, I remember when this got fucking stolen from me. I was like, wait, I've seen this joke like online on Reddit or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, oh god. And little did I know that it was just your joke.
Yeah, so my experience with plagiarism doesn't probably line up with a lot of other people's, but it's one of the reasons I hate it so much is that I have experienced the accusation of being accused of plagiarism, and it sent me into a frothing rage. That's one of the things that made me stop performing comedy. Because the most popular joke I'll ever write, I can never tell on stage again. Because I will be accused of stealing it, and it's my fucking joke. And I get so mad at the idea of plagiarism because the usual response from people when they get accused of it is like, well, it's not a big deal. It's like, it fucking is a big deal. These are people's livelihood. These are people's reputation.
When it comes to writing, it's the biggest deal. Like, that's it. It's the biggest one. It's the biggest problem.
And then, so Lucas, what happened yesterday?
I don't even know if it was yesterday or today.
What happened recently with Mr. Philip Mewson?
Recently, Philip Mewson put out on his YouTube channel, which still obviously has a following, back from I think he was a YouTuber that got hired at IGN, and then he's gone back to put his apology video on the YouTube. So he has a following there, and he posted a quote very honest review of Dead Cells.
The original review that he was found out for plagiarizing. And what makes this especially fucking annoying is, one, that guy never apologized.
Again, he put on an apology video that was no fucking apology.
Yeah, it was one of those non-apologies where he didn't actually admit fault and he refused to explain what he did, which is not an apology.
No.
It's a deflection of blame to try and assuage people's anger, which evidently didn't work. Two, fuck him. And that's just first and foremost. And then three, in his review, he joked about the fact that he plagiarized.
Well, even the title is oh, haha, remember that time I plagiarized? This one's going to be from me.
Yeah, he's made light of it, and he's also, as well, now making himself out to be the victim because people are refusing to allow him to enter back into the space of video game review, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but this was this guy's entire career, and it was ruined. And I'd feel bad, but fuck him. I don't.
Well, it was ruined by him.
Yeah, he ruined it himself.
Yeah.
Knowingly and with, like the sneakiness of a career criminal.
Yeah, it was all done in malintent, and the actions that he's had since being caught have only proven more to me how much this guy is just a weaselly little fuck.
Yeah, as I said, there are two. I see there are levels of plagiarism. There's one that's done through naivety and just laziness. And what he did is a step beyond that. It's plagiarism plus. It's the next level of plagiarism. It's plagiarism EX.
It's DLC for it.
Yeah, it's the ultimate level of plagiarism. It's the plagiarism. What's the Street Fighter 2 one? Plagiarism Turbo?
Or Super Hyper Fighting Turbo.
Some shit like that.
Yeah.
And the fact that he is now complaining that people won't let him forget that he stole from people, it's no, fuck you.
Because, in response to this, I believe he's the Xbox editor at IGN, Ryan McCaffrey.
Just told him to go fuck himself.
He just tweeted back, fuck off.
Yeah.
And then he took a screenshot of that and tweeted out, being I'm the victim, how unprofessional is this? It's oh my god.
I'll be honest though, he probably is an expert on things that are unprofessional. Of all the things that he can claim to be an expert on, that's the one that I agree with. He is an expert on unprofessionalism in journalism and games reviewing. It's
man, I do not feel bad for him. He not only took his own career down, but again, as we've mentioned, that tarnishes the reputation of the company IGN and everyone that worked with him. So I do not fucking question the fact that people at IGN are yeah, fuck off.
It's more you sat there and you just see him weaseling his way back in. It's fuck off.
Yeah.
Why do you want It reminds me a little bit, actually, I can speak, the only thing I can really speak to my experience is my experience as a writer. Mm-hmm. And I have experienced a couple versions of this, because the website that I have got my start in writing was Cracked.
Yes, it was,
Cracked.com, huge, big comedy website, maybe not as big as it used to be, just because that's the nature of online content creation. Just
and
things
there was
move quickly.
some, like, controversies that I've seen apparently, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, and I can go into those, and they're intriguing because I've obviously got a view from behind the scenes.
Yes, yeah.
So my position there was I was freelance. I never had any official position in the company, but I was the most prolific British writer for the site.
You were up there as like one of the most popular contributors in terms of a number of articles, weren't you?
Yeah, sheer number of articles contributed and written and bylines on the site. Other people, I was always proud. I'm the most prolific British contributor to the site because if you went in terms of sheer numbers, for freelancers, I think I was like 7th.
Oh, okay.
But bear in mind, I was 7th, and I've been writing there. I wrote there for a grand total of like 2-3 years. Then people have been writing for the site for 6 years. I overtook. And as a result, I got really into that site because I was there researching, writing, and then spending time just with the people behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like just to get into the voice, the mindset of the channel, and then you make friends through that. So I had a window into it to a degree, and there was a couple of people I saw though who did go on to become either full-time contributors or editors behind the scenes, layout editors, that sort of thing.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool.
And there was I stopped writing there, I think, almost 10 years ago at this point, but still kept like a touch base. I don't read the site as much anymore, but I was still
that long ago?
About that, yeah.
Oh my god.
My last byline on the site, and I've touched base with people every now and again. I try to follow the general news and the inner workings of it because it's a big company. It's how I got my start online.
Of course,
I'm curious, and when there were a couple of big stories about it, it got bought out by a huge company who then immediately laid off all of the video editing staff.
Oh, wow.
And it adds one of the best video editing teams on the web. In my opinion, at least, it had Michael Swain, Daniel O'Brien. Then you had Soren Bowie.
Yeah.
Kate Willett, a couple of other ones, like some really big names.
I watched a lot of the Cracked, like, After Hours.
Cracked After Hours.
Yeah, and that was like that team on there. And people that now I follow individually, but I didn't realise that was what happened.
Yeah, and Cracked, it never managed to surpass College Humor. But I'd always contend it was smarter than College Humor.
Yeah, I definitely think it was a bit more intellectual on it.
But that's just me tooting my own horn because I wrote for there. But they had some really super talented people working there, and then they come and I think we've discussed briefly before how Facebook basically ruined everything.
Oh yeah.
The reason so many sites pivoted to video back then is because Facebook gave out massively inflated viewing numbers for videos on Facebook, and what they basically did is they counted every 1 or 2 seconds of a video as a full view. But that included people scrolling past an auto-playing video.
Yeah, so literally every time you scroll past and see any annoying sponsored video, anything that like your friend has shared that you don't give a shit about, every time you scroll past and it has 1 second to just start that video, that's a full view apparently.
Yeah, Facebook counted that as a view, and they hid that fact from advertisers to get massively inflated advertising revenue. Because wow, Facebook can, for some reason, guarantee us 20 times the retention and viewing numbers than every other video service on the web. That's not suspicious at all.
No, but if those numbers were real, I can't really question the judgment of anyone to look at those numbers and go, holy shit, we need to be there.
Yeah, and obviously other websites saw these numbers and were like, well, fuck, we better pivot towards video. And that's why there was that period in the 2010s, 2009s, where every single news website, basically every website that produced content would make videos and have auto-playing videos at the top because that's what they were told is this is what people read. And it turns out, no, more people, by and large, read articles and still read more articles than they do watch videos. Yeah. And that came out a few years later during a deposition of Facebook. And it's like, what are the real viewing figures? They're not even 1% of what we were claiming they were. They are a fraction of a single percent. And bearing in mind, companies like Cracked had put all of their resources into producing video content. And then overnight found out that 99.9% of the viewing figures were basically not real. And advertisers in response pulled all of their advertising almost simultaneously, basically leaving these massively expensive, because making videos is very, very expensive compared to writing an article. Hosting videos is very expensive compared to hosting an article.
Yeah.
So all these companies like Cracked had massive, essentially, cash sinks that weren't making any money because there's now no profit in it, because every advertiser is terrified of putting advertising against video content because it's basically worthless now.
Oh god, that is so rough. And like they, unfortunately for them, like took, Facebook was a big company and it still is a big company. You take their metrics at face value, and unfortunately that meant so many people, like as you say, crap, just going, well, fuck, this is where the money is. We need to invest now.
And what they did is they put people who were like professional editors to make videos instead. And what happened there was, when that came out, the big company who owned Cracked went, video editing, sack them off.
Jesus.
And the story goes, because I knew the people who worked there and I got like some of the behind the scenes info, they literally found out via a phone call when they were about to record.
Oh,
like some people, like bear in mind, they uprooted and moved to Los Angeles.
Yeah,
because they were like, oh, video editing is going to be massive. They built an entire office and studio and paid people to move across the country. And they found out at work when they were in the middle of recording, oh, you're fired.
Oh,
you're done.
And as well, when you've been moved over to LA and it's like the price of living over there, oh, that's so fucking wrong.
It's like you no longer have a job.
Yeah.
And some people manage to stay inside, just as editors and things like that, on a massively reduced rate because they're no longer being paid video appearance fees.
Yeah.
But you're now living in a part of the country where you had no job. You're now a super expensive place and you don't have a high-paying job anymore. And it fucked over so many places and loads of people just jumped ship. And some of the big names that I mentioned there, like Soren Bowie, he now writes for American Dad.
Yeah, fair.
Michael Swaim writes movie scripts. Daniel
He's
O'Brien.
at IGN now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Good for him. I love Michael Swaim. And then Daniel O'Brien writes for Last Week Tonight.
All right, cool.
And then like a lot of the bigger people, they just like got, oh yeah, why would we not want these super talented editors and comedy people?
Exactly, yeah.
And then Cracked has been hemorrhaging money ever since and been floundering for relevancy. But that's just like, a meandering side note. But the big important thing is a couple of years ago now, it emerged, like it was just on the cusp of the Me Too movement.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
That a few of the people who worked there were horrible sex predators. And some of the names I can confirm, because they were publicly outed and just they were people who were like somewhat high up in the company. So I don't feel bad for shit talking them. Are John Cheese. He was the right-hand man to the website. He was best friends with the runner of the entire site, Jason Pargin.
Okay.
And was one of the OGs of the comedy writing world. Like, he used to write fucking articles back when Cracked was just a forum. Like, he would just write long forum posts and things like that. One of the biggest names on the site. And then there was another one was Josh Sargent, who was got started about a year after I did, and was one of those people who rose through the ranks and went from being a freelance contributor to just working fully with the site. He's one of the people who they moved over.
Right, yeah.
And ended up taking like a more behind the scenes role to save his job. And it turns out that Mr. John Cheese had been using his position as editor and as an influential voice on the site to just sexually harass female writers and new female writers, and send them sexually suggestive messages. And then when they were like, I'm not comfortable with this, basically gaslight them into not telling anybody.
Yeah, and that's like, obviously, you see that a lot, either the person who's committed it, or they'll report it to like HR, for example, and it gets brushed under the rug. And
but as I mentioned, his best mate ran the entire site.
Yeah, exactly. So he knows that he's in a position of power and probably won't have much happen to him.
Exactly, and it's one of those things where it went on for years and years and years, and then Josh Sargent was just a generally abusive dickhead.
Right,
and
yeah.
he was like dating someone else from the site and had done awful things, and there were just like stories told in the Facebook groups I was still part of, but didn't really check that much. It's like, and I just chalked it as a drama. It's like, oh god, that guy's an ass.
Yeah. And
the reason this reminds me of the Philip Mushin situation is because when it first broke, look, one of the people you've got on the front page of your website every fucking week is a horrible, manipulative asshole and has been abusing women. And especially on Cracked as well, and they took a very harsh stance about this sort of thing.
Well, okay, yeah.
Yeah, and they take, like, they write articles, like, breaking shot this shit down. They'd like to, like, you are speaking from a position of, like, high and mighty, butter wouldn't melt. Like, you need to fucking, like, get this nipped in the bud now.
Mm-hmm.
The immediate response was, well, let's just wait and see.
Oh, no.
We need to wait and see. Like, all this thing about believing women, no, but it's my mates, we need to wait and see.
Oh,
And the reason this reminds me of the Philip Minuchin situation is because in the forums, behind the scenes, it was legitimately being argued by people that, is it right to remove John Cheese's articles because he is a horrible, manipulative sex predator? Because they've helped some people.
Oh, God.
And I saw that and I got so mad and so angry. My response, I posted, like, for the first time in, like, 5 years, I do not wish to be associated with a website who would even entertain this idea. Please remove all of my bylines from every article I've written. I don't care.
Okay, so you don't have bylines on there anymore?
I do, because eventually they removed all John Cheese articles.
Okay, yeah.
Because other writers saw that and started joining in of, like, remove my bylines too. And it's like, maybe it's not a good idea to let this person keep doing this.
And I saw a similar conversation going on with the Philip Minuchin thing when it all came out.
Should we take his reviews down?
And, well, that wasn't a question from IGN, but that was, like, a question that, like, fans were saying and readers were saying is, yeah, but, you know, you shouldn't really take the reviews down because they were reviews that were relevant at the time. And they had a very firm stance of, no, we are immediately taking down these reviews and getting re-reviews made by different people as soon as we can. And that's the exact fucking, like, method you need to have. You won't lose reviews for that game. You'll get actual credible fucking ones, though.
Yeah, and, like, I just remember seeing that with Cracked when there was a genuine argument happening of, is it right to remove these articles? Because John Cheese's articles have really helped me, but it's been written by a guy who abuses. Like, the mere existence of those articles is one of the reasons that he was able to manipulate and sexually harass them. Just basically make these women incredibly uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
And feel lesser, and in some cases destroy their self-esteem.
Yeah, don't leave him with any modicum of that power
or success. Like, it's the only way to address this is to completely, like, you've got to nuke it from orbit. You have to nip it in the bud.
Yeah, every last bit of it.
Like, it's probably an extreme comparison, but it's like cancer. You cut it out.
Yeah,
you obliterate it with radiation, or you cut it out completely.
Extreme comparison, but one that is very true of just, you've got to get that shit completely out of the system.
Because if any modicum remains, it can spread again.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, and it's like the Philip Minuchin thing of, shouldn't he be allowed to come back? It's like, no, because what he did is so toxic and so poisonous and so horrendous, merely allowing him to have a career or a comeback emphasises that, it's bit plagiarism isn't that bad. It's like, it fucking is.
Exactly, that sets a precedent for, he's had the slap on the wrist and plagiarism is okay in the end.
It's like, oh man, yeah, John Cheese was, like, using his position to sexually harass women. But it's okay if it's like, no. And one of the things that I remember about that situation, and it made me so, so happy, and I'm pretty sure I could talk about this now because it's been a while, but there's a website called bunnyears.com, and they scooped up a lot of Cracked writers in the day.
Right, okay.
When the advertising shenanigans were happening.
Yeah.
They managed to, like, get a lot of their editors and just, like, get a really solid stable of writers, and that website is apparently really good to work for. And when that happened, they immediately removed John Cheese. When he found out, they said, we're going to offer resources to all the women who were affected. We wholeheartedly apologise for anything you suffered. We will excise it. And bear in mind, this is a much smaller site than Cracked at the time, and they still made this stand.
Yeah, good.
And that site is owned, I believe, wholly by one Macaulay Culkin.
Oh, okay, that's where I've heard the name of the website then, yeah.
Yes, and one of the reasons I'm bringing this up is because, fun fact, people can choose to believe me about this or not, but it happened, so fuck you, is I was reached out to by bunnyears.com to potentially provide content for them for Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, and I did see this email.
Because
I can confirm.
Because they were planning on doing a Mac Facts based on, I shit you not, this is real. People can say I'm lying, but I know it's true. Based on my articles and the Fact Fiend channel of which Macaulay Culkin is a fan.
Yeah.
I shit you not. And that deal fell through because, pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And presumably they didn't want to move forward on that idea. But I remember I was really drunk when I got that email initially and didn't think it was real. And sent them a really sarcastic email back of like, yeah, I'd love to work with you guys. And then found out, no, we actually are the guys from Bunny Ears. Macaulay wants to work with you. Are you free for a call? I'm like, oh, God, no.
Because, you were just in the office telling us, and we were like, wait, what?
Yeah.
It's like,
that deal fell through, and I'm a bit disappointed, but that's what happens in business. And
it does, yeah. A lot of things don't come to fruition in the end.
When you're creative, you have a dozen ideas, and half of them are going to go nowhere, half of them you're going to work on, and then it's never going to go anywhere anyway. But I remember, I distinctly recall, when I messaged them, and they said, would you be open to working with us? I specifically singled out their response to that.
Yeah, yeah.
I was so impressed by your response to immediately cut ties with this man. Even though it was a big risk economically, but you did it anyway and they said because it was the right thing to do. I made a mental note that if the opportunity ever presented itself to work with your site in the future, or whether it was me just applying, going back to my days of freelancing and thinking of somewhere to apply, I would. And they said thank you, and that really made me happy. They knew there's some good guys over there.
Yeah, and that's a lot better.
That's the response. But I've also made,
as you say, Crack just pussyfooting about it, going, "We'll see what happens.
Maybe it'll blow over." And by the same token, I've made a mental note to never, ever work with Crack.com ever again.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Because of that awful, awful response of maybe let's see. And the editor of the site doing the very something Philip Mushin's been doing of anytime people would talk about it, say this is not the time to talk about this. So no, we try to discuss whether it's right for you to have an accused sexual predators articles open on your website.
Yeah,
that's a thing we need to discuss.
And it's now's not very prescient to talk about it. It's no, it is.
It's not even a thing as well. It's not even a discussion, especially as well when he wrote an apology because he admitted to it. That's why I don't feel bad about calling him out because he did the same Philip Mushin thing of he wrote an apology but not an apology.
Yeah.
Where it's I'm sorry for what I did while never actually specifying what it is he did.
Mm-hmm.
It's oh, fuck you, John Cheese. And the reason that was so good is because the lady who originally brought it all to light, Talia Jane, excellent writer. I encourage people to follow her. She does some good stuff. Wrote a breakdown of his apology saying, I refuse to accept it because it's shit. And just broke down why this apology is so shit because it's you don't acknowledge a single thing you've done, and you're placing the onus on me to forgive you for you being a prick. Yeah. That's not how apologies work.
No, it's not.
You don't get to be the victim in this scenario after using your power to victimize others. Fuck you. And I'm yes, that's the correct response.
Yeah, it is.